What can you do with org mode? Now in this video, let us discuss a few different amazing things that you can do with org mode. And of course, you can do a lot more than what I have listed here. But this is of course from my own experience. Now the first thing that I want to talk about is the note-taking capabilities of org mode. I take a lot of notes. I take a lot of notes not only on computer, I also take a lot of notes on my notepad, physical paper. But when it comes to planning your work around different notes that you take, you need a system. And org mode is one tool that can make this experience of note taking really good for you. There is something called as org capture. So basically, when you want to take a note, a small note, and you don't really want to go to a specific file, you can simply press a shortcut on your keyboard, and there is a command basically, and it will basically open a buffer for you where you can capture your thoughts, your notes, whatever you want to save, and you press the command again, and that is it. The note is saved for you. Now later on, you can refile it to a specific location. You can do something about it if you have to. And I have made a video on that particular topic. So there is something called as org capture. But of course, apart from org capture, if you just want to organize your notes, I think org mode is amazing for note taking. Now, when it comes to planning the work around your notes and basically doing task management or maybe project management, kind of project management, you can definitely use the org mode. There are so many things that you can do with the org mode. You can plan when you have to do a specific activity. You can do time tracking. You can basically get reminders. You can search your tasks. You can break up your big activities into smaller activities. You can do time tracking. You can attach dates. You can attach date and time to those activities. So every day when I start my day, I take a look at my agenda. So you can prepare an agenda using org mode. That agenda can also be in a calendar format in case you prefer calendars, in case you think that calendar view is something that works well for you. So you can use org mode. And to be honest, task management capabilities of org mode is one area where it really shines, and it works really well for me. Now, you can also do a bit more than taking notes and task management. You can also write documents, and not just normal text-based documents. You can use a very good formatting in case you want to. And not only you can have those documents with the proper formatting, but your documents can follow some kind of consistency. Now, I have talked about this in the past. You can basically have templates. For example, if you are using org mode for blogging, which is my next point, you may want to follow a certain template. Or maybe if you are, let us say, keeping a journal, I maintain a journal using org mode where I try to write something every day. And when I write my journal, I have specific sections. Now, I don't really create those sections manually because it will be too much work. I press a command and it will insert a template for me, and then I can simply fill up that template with whatever I want to write. And more than the formatting, I would say consistency is really important when you're creating a document of a specific type. Now, talking about blogging, I of course have been blogging for many years, and I have always blogged using a proper CMS. I use Drupal, in case you know what Drupal is. But Drupal is of course a proper CMS. You have to open your Drupal site, you have to then write your blog, you have to then save it. But what if you want to convert your note? Let us say you have to share something which is, let us say, a command that you found or you did something and it is basically in your note and you want to share it with everyone. You can convert that note into a blog, a proper blog within a few minutes. And when you're using org mode, you have the option to move things around. For example, let us say if you are talking about this particular task management header. So this is one header in my whole document. If I want, I can press a command, and I can then move it to a different location, to a different file using refiling. And I have talked about this, I believe, in one of my video. So when you have those notes, you can also move it to a different file, basically a file where, or maybe a directory where you are maintaining your blog, and there is something called as publishing. So if you want, you can not only write your blog post in org mode, you can also publish HTML files, and not just one file. I mean, if I want, I can convert this particular document into a nice, consistent HTML format, but I can also publish the whole directory. So basically, if you have a directory with few, or not just few, but a lot of org files, and maybe your home page or index page for blog, you can basically convert a very good, consistent HTML out of it. And when you have HTML, of course, you can then commit it to your Git repository. What I have been doing, I have basically set up a workflow where the moment I publish my blog from, let us say if I have to write a new blog, I write it using my org mode, and then I publish it. And when I publish it, I just commit my whole directory. And I have a workflow using GitLab pipelines where any new commit is deployed. So I can not only write my blog, I can also publish my blog, all using my terminal, nothing else. Now, moving on to the next part, and that is the literate programming. Now, I write code. I write code in different languages. But of course, at the same time, I also share my work with everyone. Now, whenever I write a blog post, and that blog post, if I have to, let us say, share a snippet, a code snippet, I can, of course, insert my code snippet in my document. But it is not just a code snippet that I can insert. The code snippet is something that I can also run. For example, if I want to, let us say, insert a Groovy code, a small snippet of Groovy code in my document, I can insert it, but I can also generate the output of that particular code snippet. So I can press a command and it will run the code, it will generate the output within my document. And you can also, if you want, you can also export those code snippets to a proper code. So if I have a document where I have, let us say, 5 Groovy code snippets and maybe a couple of Java code snippets, maybe some HTML, maybe some CSS, I can press a command, and that command can basically generate and create proper code for me. And you can then, of course, do whatever you want with that. If you have to share it with someone else, you can. So literate programming is one area that is really amazing, and it worked really well for me. I have been using literate programming with org mode since the start of this year, and I'm quite loving it. The next point is the power of Emacs. Now, you can do a lot of wonderful things with Emacs. Of course, org mode is just one area that I'm, of course, talking about. But org mode is basically within Emacs. And when you have Emacs, Emacs is not just a code editor. You can use Emacs for browsing the web. You can use Emacs to basically listen to your music. You can use Emacs as your RSS feed reader. You can use Emacs for browsing files. You can use Emacs for previewing the files. You can do a lot of wonderful things within Emacs. And you have the power of Emacs. So one good point that I wanted to mention. And finally, when you are working with org mode, everything is a text file. And I think this is really important. When you are, let us say, working with Word files or maybe Excel sheets, those documents work fine, but you are relying on Microsoft Office to open those files. Maybe you have, let us say, PDF files. PDFs are still far better, but when you're working with these documents, you have to open that document in that application, let us say Microsoft Office. Now, when you're working with org mode, everything is a text file, and you know what you can do with text file. You can version control them. You can do wonderful things with your text files. You can automate them. Like, for example, I talked about moving things around. For example, if I want, I can move this particular piece of header or maybe a specific string to a different file. You can use amazing Linux commands to search and manipulate and do wonderful things with your text files. And if you have to automate things, working with text files is again very easy. So, and of course, when you're working with text files, you have your files that will be with you always, and you will never really rely on any external software. Even if you don't use Emacs, you can still open your org files separately. I mean, Emacs is of course another application that I'm using, but everything is stored as a text file, which is I think really good to have. So these are some of the reasons. These are some of the reasons that really work for me, and why I use org mode. I of course do a lot of other things as well, but these are like the main things that I do with org mode, and I thought I'll probably share with you guys as well. In case you want to learn org mode, in case you want to do things with Emacs, I have made a lot of videos on my channel, and you can take a look at those videos where I talked about doing these wonderful things in a bit more detail. So that is all I wanted to talk about in this video. I hope you learned something new today and you also enjoyed watching this video. Thank you very much.